What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. It may have taken longer than we expected, but we finally got a Sinnoh resurgence, getting to go back to the region for the first time in over a decade on a brand new system. But it didn't stop there. We also got a radical new kind of Pokemon game that showed us the past of this same region, something that we never thought would happen. And as much as I enjoyed this nostalgia trip, I can acknowledge that people had some problems with the directions taken in this endeavor. But I can like something and criticize it at the same time, with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl and Pokémon Legends Arceus. So let's take a look at the top 6 missed opportunities with the entirety of the Sinnoh revival. Number 6. Platinum Expansion. Okay, so let's get this one out of the way. I'm sure that we've all heard people whine about how they decided to go with Diamond and Pearl instead of the far superior Platinum. And while that might be true, they were never going to fully ignore two of their highest-selling games ever. For everyone who played Platinum on an emulator instead of buying it, you have only yourselves to blame. But that being said, it is strange that they seem to be so against taking much from the third game in the set. If we look back at the other pairs of remakes, we can see that they drew from the enhanced versions quite a bit. The goal for any of the later games for a region is to make it the definitive version, so it would only make sense for Heart Gold and Soul Silver to have portions that highlight Suicune above its normal standing to show off a bit of Crystal. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had an entire Delta episode that displayed why Rayquaza was so important, and it even gave us a way to capture a usually difficult to find mythical. So even if Giratina isn't quite as awful as it was in the originals, it's not at the level of box art legendary either. They couldn't even include some characters from Platinum, like the galactic scientist Charon or even Looker, who was introduced in that apparently forgotten game. I guess it didn't even have to be specifically Platinum, but really just any expansion would have been nice, like how these Sevi Islands weren't pulled from Yellow. If anything, they were more from the Orange Islands anime. Which I guess means that these remakes should have had Battle Frontier anime inspirations, but we know not to get these fans started on their Battle Frontiers. Number 5. The moves. So, the last remakes we saw in Gen 6 had the same setups for TMs as the other games on the 3DS, in that they never break. Once you obtain a TM, you could use it as many times as you wanted on any Pokemon that could learn it. And really the reasoning for this was just player convenience, I suppose, or maybe even an effort to make it easier to create viable competitive Pokemon with the best moves that you can get. Either way, this was the standard going forward, to the point that once they decided they wanted to bring back breakables, they introduced a whole new class on top of the HMs and TMs with Galar's new TRs. So how is it that the Diamond and Pearl remakes reverted back to the system from 15 years ago? Now maybe this can be chalked up to the outside development team, and maybe they just thought that the completely faithful recreation of the original experience was better, but farming battle points or trying to find a good deal in the underground for a decent TM is a pretty big inconvenience when you could just use that time to be training your Pokemon. I guess I just don't understand why, if they had to keep breakable move discs, they couldn't just use TRs and keep the continuity from the games in the same generation. But even outside of that, there's only one spot in the whole game for you to use your shards, where in Platinum you could use them to tutor like 24 different moves. So I guess that maybe they wanted to make it just like back in the day, but some more reliable move-teaching methods would be appreciated. Although I guess at least they did cut us a break on actually using the HMs. Number 4. The Old World. That's right, Legends Arceus isn't exempt from this either. Now, of course, there were giant leaps taken with this game, making small changes that have been suggested for years, with the simple likes of switching moves on your own for free. But I did love going around Hisui and exploring everything. However, they could have done a little more. I know that Pokemon has a spotty track record with trees lately, but it is true that there could have been a few more trees around this map. I get that they wouldn't want to overcrowd it and make it hard to move between a grove here and there, but that seems like a minor, avoidable problem over having a largely barren landscape. And sure, they intentionally called it fieldlands to imply that there are more plains, but a few trees wouldn't have killed them. Maybe they could have just given us a quick jaunt over to the Eterna Forest to see what it was like back then? But speaking of, that is another thing that could have been done more that wasn't, in visiting more established locations. And I don't just mean landmarks, but perhaps man-made places as well. I know that the point is that they are not established yet, but it would have been pretty cool for them to start a new settlement and ask for your input, so that you end up choosing whether to found Canalave or Veilstone or Hearthome, and then you can go and visit and see its progress just like with Jubilife. I don't feel like that's too much to ask, just to start one other town, but maybe with its success we'll be able to see another game like this and then they can expand upon it in the future. Number 3. The Pokédex. So, I know that Sinnoh is pretty notorious for lacking great coverage for a lot of different types throughout the region, but that's not really what I'm talking about. Aside from the low number of options, a glaring weakness of the original Diamond and Pearl Pokédex is the fact that they didn't include much of the new evolutions that Sinnoh provided. I hate to keep comparing these to the other remakes, but it bears repeating that previous entries included more than they needed to. Heart Gold and Soul Silver brought in some evolutions like Yanmega, Tangrowth, and a few more, however others like Electabuzz and Magmar were left without their final forms. But this was done even better by Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which added pretty much every applicable evolution to any Hoenn-related Pokémon, such as the Dawnstone evolutions, Dusknoir, Probopass, and more. So it doesn't seem out of place for the decks in this region to put in the evolutions that they introduced. It's not even from another generation. Again, I hate to repeat myself, but Platinum addressed this as well by allowing more of these Pokemon in the decks before the post-game, so if they were going to take anything from a third game, surely it would have been a good idea to have more than just a handful of evolutions and actually let these Pokemon shine. Because if they can't do it in their native region, they're not likely to get a shot anywhere else. Number 2. Interconnectivity. When they first announced the Pokémon Legends Curveball, it was quite unexpected, and all we were told was that it would be sometime in the early year after Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. However, after a little while, they revealed that it would be in January, only 2 months after the original remakes came out, which made it seem all the more likely that there would be some kind of connection between the two. I truthfully expected for the remakes and this prequel, offshoot, whatever you want to call it, to have some sort of communication, and be able to transfer information of some sort. And I don't even necessarily mean just in functionality, but in story as well. Obviously, the most outstanding factor would be to move Pokémon between all of these games. It would have been great to trade over a Sinnoh starter if you had trouble finding one out in the wild, but it would have been amazing to have those Hisuian forms able to go over and be usable in the remakes. But as huge an opportunity as it would have been to ship a Poison Sneasel over to the modern-day Sinnoh, it could have been even simpler than that. The way that I imagined some interaction was possibly some time capsule where you plant something in Legends, and then maybe go into the underground and dig it up to find possibly a Hisuian form, but even if not, it could just be a note left behind that would lead us to the Hall of Origin to go find Arceus and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Or maybe just a detailed description of some of the new moves introduced in Legends Arceus, so that a modern-day move tutor can actually teach it to your Pokémon. I'm not saying that we should be able to battle between these games or anything, but some kind of acknowledgement that these games existed in the same real-world time frame would have been what I expected the bare minimum to be. Number 1. Longevity. So not every opportunity missed is necessarily from the games themselves, but external pressures can impact the experience as well. So, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl came out at the predictable time in November, nobody was really shocked, but 2 months later we got Legends Arceus, which was a huge pivot to a new kind of Pokemon experience that people have been waiting to see for decades. Now, for some people that wasn't a problem, but for others that was too close. As we know, the games were actually announced at the same time, which was good marketing since there likely would have been a large outcry for just the remakes in their current state, well, larger. So this let people hold off on buying both or either game based on knowing more of what's to come. But how much of these sales were cannibalized by that? However, really that's not even the biggest wrinkle, because once Legends Arceus came on the scene and generated the most goodwill that Pokemon has seen in years and brought so much excitement, they decided, yeah, now's the right time to draw attention away from this. What are you doing? You've got such a great thing going here. Don't kneecap it by shoving Gen 9 in everyone's face. I do believe that Legends Arceus will be able to stand on its own over time and be a beloved property like the original Pokemon Snap or Stadium, but the way they did things means that it will always be the Pokemon game that only had 1 month in the spotlight. I get that maybe they were a little scared at first, but after the warm reception, they didn't think to push the Scarlet and Violet announcement at least another week? People that were possibly about to buy Legends now have every excuse not to do so, and wait until the end of the year. That's not to mention all the possible merchandise they left on the table that people would have gladly bought if the Hisui region had been given just a single extra month to be Pokemon's central focus. I am currently optimistic about Gen 9, but we didn't need to know about it yet at the expense of the Sinnoh hype train leaving the station so soon. Regardless of any missteps the games themselves might have taken, most any good they could have created was cut short by Pokemon's baffling decision to sweep it all under the rug, kind of making the whole endeavor feel like an opportunity was wasted. But those are just what I believe to be the top 6 missed opportunities from the Sinnoh revival. What opportunities do you think were missed by all the Sinnoh games? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And we'll see you around next time!